Hi, do you know what today's thought? And today we're going to talk about a phenomenon that worries me, a form of behavior among too many of us Americans. And it has to do with terrorism. That's what we're going to talk about today, which is basically, well, it's two things. Number one, the farther we get away, more time that passes from a terrorist attack on this country, we just kind of go along with our lives, and we just put it in the back burner, and we forget. We just don't think about it anymore. And 9/11, the Oklahoma City bombing, the Boston Marathon bombing, and the whole country is on high alert when something like this happens. And then time goes along, and then we get complacent, and then we engage in a form of behavior that I'm going to call it can't happen hereism. So we look at now, never mind something that happened a long time ago, something that was very recent. We have, October 7th in Israel, which I'm going to get to in a moment, but the most recent one is this horrific attack in Russia, hundreds of people killed. And we look at these things happening overseas, and then I guess we have a kind of an isolationist tendency sometimes, which also bothers me, that we see things happening overseas, budding problems that we could have taken care of early, and we don't. We let them fester until it comes to our shores, and then we have, again, it can't happen hereism, where we just see these things happen overseas and we don't we just stop thinking that it can happen here, and so we fail to act. And the worst problem right now is our open border. We have an administration that believes, now this is after we've already caught several, I believe over 100 people on the terrorist watch list already, and those are the ones that we've caught. There are what they call the gotaways, people who don't show up at they cross illegally, and most of these people, they immediately turn themselves in because they know that this horrible administration of us is going to let them stay, is going to admit them into the country. To tell you how bad it is, I'm going to digress for a second in case you're not aware of it, but the Senate had a vote. Actually, Bill Hagerty, my senator, I'm proud to say, brought a bill to the floor in the Senate which simply said that taxpayer dollars could not be used to fly unlawful aliens caught at the border into the interior of this country, which this administration has been doing. And get this, every single Democrat voted against a bill that would prevent our government, the Biden administration, from using our taxpayer dollars to fly unlawful aliens into the middle of the country. And now that I think of it, it's not just caught at the border, but direct flights from other countries, I believe. Now, I could be wrong on that, but I think I heard that, but definitely caught at the border. And some of these people, again, these are people who turn themselves in knowing they can stay, but they're what they call the gotaways, people who haven't been caught. And if they haven't been caught, they hide themselves. They don't turn themselves in. And if they're not turning themselves in, knowing that they would just be led into the country, if they don't turn themselves in, you know they're up to you. You're on pretty safe ground, believing, or at least seeing the possibility that some of those people are up to no good, letting them into the country. So I'm going to show you a video now, and to remind us all, to give us a warning and a reminder. Now, this is from an American living in Israel, and I advise you to watch and listen to the whole thing. And here he is.
I knew a guy, met him in 2000 while working together at an ad agency in Boston. He actually asked about Israel a lot. At the time, there'd been relentless Hamas suicide bombings, killing our people, doing whatever they could to literally rip us to shreds, blowing up buses, restaurants, shops, and it was incessant. And he didn't understand their hate and how we lived with it in our lives. What option do we have, I'd say? We have to fight terror, but also continue. And they can't beat our spirit. To him, terrorism was foreign. See, he'd never been abroad, not once. He couldn't wrap his head around it. And what I remember about him was his beautiful naivete. I was actually envious of it. That said, I tried to explain how America couldn't stay isolated forever, that Israel's fight wasn't just ours, it was for anyone who didn't want Sharia law. It wasn't restricted to the Palestinian quest for a land of their own. It was entwined with radical Islam, an ideology with no mercy and no borders, one that doesn't discriminate, not even amongst those it supposedly fights for. His name was Bill Weems, and he was a warm, funny, and decent family man. He was also a passenger on United Flight 175, steered mercilessly into the World Trade Center by Al-Qaeda on the morning of 9/11, 2001. I didn't know Bill a long time, but I'll never forget him, and he'll always be my friend. It's been 23 years now. The number of people being killed in the name of Islamic radicalism continues to grow everywhere. You can hear anti-Western speeches by radical Islamic leaders, anti-Semitic chants on the streets of Europe or on campuses across the United States even. And these words, they move people to hate. And they also target young children and teens, those who are most susceptible to lies. It's all well thought out, taught and funded. They're global. They're organized. We live with the threat of radical Islam here in Israel. October 7th was our 9/11. But you, who watched all of that savagery and death from a distance, don't you forget how it came home to you, to the Boston Marathon in 2013, to the London train and bus bombings in 2005, the Paris Charlie Hebdo massacre in 2015, the Pittsburgh Tree of Life Synagogue in 2018, the ongoing killings in Sudan, Nigeria, and Yemen, to Iranians in Iran in the form of state-sponsored terrorism and totalitarianism, to Syria and Iraq, where over 1 million people have been killed in civil wars. And these murders are a direct result of Islamic radicals sending a message to anyone standing in their way on the road to an Islamic caliphate, one that'll be worse than hell on earth, where radical Muslims kill not just Jews, but people of other faiths, their own people, anyone who doesn't bow down before the perverted form of Islam. These terror organizations are thrilled because the media is putting the spotlight for all the problems in our neighborhood on Israel. They're happy that most people don't see them for who they are, even though they're out there for all to see. They can rest easy knowing that those ordinary, young, uninformed people aren't even aware that they're being manipulated to hate online with videos and propaganda intended to make them furious. Videos of dead people sell. The context of how and why it happened doesn't. Terror groups like Hamas and Hezbollah know full well that in this crazy world we've become, facts don't matter, just emotion. So they show Gen Z what they know they won't like out of context, and they know that they'll respond to. Here's oppression, here's apartheid, here's genocide, even though none of that's going on, and the situation is much more complex than they'd have you believe. Young people today want a just and fair world while watching it all via their phones on TikTok 24/7. The short attention span phenomenon means they don't dig deep enough to get different points of view and apply critical thinking, which is, well, critical. So they can see things for how they truly are instead of believing narratives delivered literally and ultimately by jihadists who are pinching themselves at how naive people are, believing that radical Islam doesn't affect them, that it's someone else's problem, Israel's problem, and that in fact, Israel's to blame for it. Radical Islamic leaders love how ordinary citizens aren't pressurizing their leaders to crush them into oblivion as they brainwash entire communities in their neighborhoods. They've got ordinary citizens in the palm of their hand, not knowing that they're being played. But you know who I'm sure doesn't love any of this? Bill's family. It's 23 years now since Bill was murdered by Islamic jihadists. But Hamas, Hezbollah, other like-minded terror organizations, they're still here, and their killing is far from over. I hate to break it to you, but it's coming to a place near you sooner than you think. And that's not fear-mongering. That's just an inconvenient truth for you. So please, wake the hell up while you still can. and start doing something about the kind of world that you want to live in.
There it is, America, our reminder and a warning that we ignore at our own peril. And unfortunately, at this time in our history, we have an administration that is hell-bent on ignoring that warning because it is more important to them to import unlawful aliens into this country that they hope will be given amnesty someday to vote for Democrats, or at the very least their children would be born in this country, and hopefully to the Democrats, they would vote for Democrats. That is their highest priority, and so they are keeping this border open, and it's just a matter of time, unfortunately, that something like this happens, unless the only hope is that we're going to elect a new administration and that nothing will happen in the remaining few months, fortunately, that we have to elect a new administration that will get serious about sealing our border. But this idea that it can happen hereism, not only can it happen here, but it's just a matter, if we do nothing, it's only a matter of time until it does happen here, because it has happened here. That's the point I made earlier, and I'll end on this. It has happened before. We had a 9/11, we had a Boston Marathon bombing, and why? Well, just the 9/11 is the worst one, and why would we risk having another one? And you can go back even further. Remember the first World Trade Center bombing in 1993 under Bill Clinton, and he treated it as a simple criminal matter and arrested the people involved, put them in prison, and did nothing about going after the people overseas. Al-Qaeda, he could have gone after Al-Qaeda. He refused to do it, and this is he was warned, and Bill Clinton, and he ignored it. I don't remember the exact logic or illogic. He was afraid of some kind of international law violation. I don't know what it was, but he was given the opportunity, and he didn't take advantage of it in 1993, and as a result, we got 9/11, and I really fear what we're going to get and what we may get in the future, or will get if we don't do something about this in the future. And that's it. I wish I could have a happier thought today, but unfortunately I can't. So thanks for stopping by. Your opinions are always welcome below the video here. If you could subscribe, that would really be great. Share this video with anyone you think would benefit from it. But most of all, come back and see me again. I would love to see all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.